Not being inducted today because you went in Bob Norton some 10 years ago.
Don't remind me.
But I'd love to hear what makes this New Hampshire Legends of hockey so special to you.
Well, I was there at the first meeting we had down in Manchester to initiate the building of this thing many years ago, and I think that there's a couple of traditions that come out of hockey in New Hampshire and everywhere really, but particularly New Hampshire. Hockey has its birth in the mill cities, mill towns, and the prep schools, and there couldn't be too farther apart places. Prep schools, affluent, mill towns, immigrants, poor, but that's where the beginnings are. And when you look at hockey in New Hampshire, you look at hockey at St. Paul's. Well, there you go. There's one part of it, and then you look at hockey at Berlin, and there's another part of it. So when you see that this is the beginning of it, and really that was sort of the beginning of it in Manchester. Folks who grew up in Berlin, like Pierre Belanger, and folks like Steve Peters, who would Melrose, Mass, and Dartmouth people. Mm-hmm. That was and I just always have felt that was special here in the game, and I thought that was special about how this organization started.
Yeah, pretty cool that half of our inductees today have ties to Berlin, and what an unbelievable history that hockey has in that city.
Absolutely, and I can remember as a kid traveling up to visit relatives who lived in Berlin, and seeing the logs out in the river. And as a young kid, that was that was an amazing thing to see. But Berlin there's been a change up there in terms of hockey players coming out of there. But for a period of time, most of the time that we're talking about, the best hockey players in New Hampshire came out of Berlin, and we when I was coaching at UNH, we had trouble recruiting Berlin. We really didn't do very much up there. After Rod Blackburn, we sort of laid low a little bit, but then we got Johnny Normand and Frankie Roy, and the rest was history. There's a lot of good players.
You had your career in coaching.
Right.
You've had a terrific run as a broadcaster. Mm. You made a very smooth transition, one that you liked more than the other?
Well, my number one career, the way I made my living, was as a high school principal and a school administrator, and that I loved more than anything. That I wouldn't have given up for anything. The good thing about the coaching that I did, and later the coaching that I did with my kids, and all the way through youth hockey, coached a number of people who were in this Hall of Fame as youth hockey players. But it was a diversion, doing the games. You left school and whatever the problems were, the good things and the bad things about school, and you went into another milieu, another place where you were dealing with athletes and TV guys and tech guys and camera guys, and it was totally different. So from that standpoint, I liked it because it was different. It allowed me to do this and also do that, and the doing of this and the doing of that, it sort of keeps you energized to keep doing this and keep doing that.
Can you watch games as a fan?
No. The color analysts drive me nuts. I watch the guys today. They do nothing. They just talk. It's like conversation. You don't even know what's going on in the game. It's just conversation. The fact that their color analyst has been lost, their color chit-chatters. Jim Janot told me an important lesson when I started in this business a long time ago. When the play is on, I talk, meaning the play-by-play man, and you shut up. When the play stops, you have an opportunity to start talking between the time play's over and the time it starts again. That's it. So that's a discipline that, as you know, that was old school discipline. That's the way we learned how to do it. Play-by-play guy does play-by-play, you do color, and then you separate the two. Now it's just blather. Constant chit-chat. I don't think I'm wrong about that, but it drives me nuts. So when I see somebody who does it the old way, like I listened the other day to Ernie, I can't remember the kid who was doing the game on the playoffs, but Frank was the color analyst, and he's perfect. Play was on, stop. Play, he said something. Not many of them.
Maybe one or two of your all-time favorite sportscasters? Who were the guys that you looked up to?
The great thrill for me was when Channel 38 came to me I'd been doing the Beanpot, and Sean McDonald wasn't able to do it, and they told me I was going to do the Beanpot with Fred Cusick. That was a thrill to me.
Yep.
You know, you have broadcasters you grew up. I fell asleep listening to Fred Cusick do Bruins games. So when I knew I was going to do the games with Fred Cusick, he was my idol. I was thrilled that I told him that right at the beginning of the telecast, how much I appreciated doing the games with him, that I grew up listening to him and all that. And then he wrote a book. Later on, he wrote a book, and he had a chapter, and he mentioned me in the book. He talked about getting to do the Beanpot, which he wanted to do to prove he still had it. But when he started doing it, he was afraid he didn't know anybody, and then I was doing the game, and I knew everything and filled him in, and he was really thankful to me that I'd helped him so much do the big part, and I was just thankful to him that he did the game with me, you know.
Good batch.
Yeah, that was a thrill. You know, I worked with Sean. Sean McDonough was a great guy to work.
Still is terrific.
Yeah, still the best.
Yep.
Can do anything unusual to most of those guys. Mm-hmm. He could do football, baseball, basketball. He could do ping pong. You know, he can do anything. I worked with Bob Kurtz for a long time. I love Bob Kurtz. He does the Minnesota Wild now, and he's a great pro. He was a lot of fun. I work with a lot of guys that were real good fun to work with, Sean probably was the best, but I worked with Gary Thorne and a bunch of them. You know, I had a chance to work with some of the best guys.
Well, it was a pleasure to spend a few minutes with you here today. If we could keep going and we'd end up missing the banquet, but so I'm going to let you go there. But Bob, thanks for helping me prepare for today as well.
The interview is like short questions, long answers.